Hello.
Hello.
Did
Happy
that surprise
Saturday.
you? You were like, oh my God, the intro's over.
I was kind of in a group
You were
with
zoning out to the little intro.
I love it. It's a very nice little, am I in a lounge getting ready to hear a jazz group, sing a little ditty? I like it.
I try to make us more professional with each passing day.
I love it.
So, I'm just proud of me because I came to StreamYard and not to
like last time. Wait, where were you last time? Where did you go? Were you in Riverside?
I was in Riverside. Yeah. That's where we normally record. So I forgot that.
Yeah, so the
lives happen over here.
The people may not understand our mechanics. When we do our regular recorded episodes, we use a virtual studio called Riverside FM, but when we go live, we use StreamYard. So
And I'm the keeper of StreamYard, and I did not remember, but it's okay. I remember this time. I'm very happy that
you were on
it again.
You're on it. Yes.
If I did it again, you'd have to get me medical attention, I think.
Like, are you okay? Is everything okay?
It's only sometimes.
Only sometimes. Isn't that all of us though?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for today.
I am excited for today. I feel like it's been a while since I've read this, but we're here to talk about Boulder as stated in the title. But it's a regular TBR Lowdown episode, so we have some things that we do. So what have you been reading, lady?
Everything in the world.
I know you have.
Everything in the world. I've got 6 books going. But I did start my reread of A Game of Thrones because so I read this in October of last year. But I was like, I want to read it again because I really liked it and I want to continue with the rest of the series. So it's just delightful and it's very much a book that I do not want to put down. I am very invested, even though, I have watched the show probably, and I'm not exaggerating. I have watched the show in its entirety probably 12 times, maybe 14.
I feel like you watch it every other week.
I'm always dipping in there, right? So what I had to do was I had to force myself to stop watching it so that I could build up the desire to read the series. So that's what I did.
Good.
So I'm on my reread. I'm loving it.
Well, I need you to actually get through book 2 so that I can hook back in with you. But I also don't feel any rush because is this series ever going to be finished?
Probably not. And I'm going by the Game of Thrones book fans who have been waiting for so long, and based off what they say with how the show veered off obviously from the books so far,
when they have to,
they don't think George R.R. Martin can finish it. So that's interesting.
He needs to stop blurbing other books and just finish this series
and stop editing other books. I mean, do what you want, George.
Yeah, I know.
You're an old man. You've earned your time. Do what you want to do. You know what I mean? I'm gonna read these books until what is it? It's 7 of them, 8 of them, 7. I don't know. I'm gonna read them, and if he gives us the last one, fine. If not, fine.
There's 5.
Is it only 5?
Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
I have all 5.
Okay.
I'm staring at them right now, but I've only read the first 2. But
Wow.
yeah, one day he'll finish it maybe.
I
It's
don't
like
where
me
am I
thinking
getting that
I'm
number
gonna
8
get
from?
I don't know.
Okay. Hmm.
It's like me thinking they're gonna finish The Name of the Wind. It's not gonna happen.
Oh, I think that's yeah. Yeah.
Patty's not gonna finish that for me.
Yeah. So,
Anyway,
it's just 2 books in that, right? We're waiting on the 3rd and final?
there's 2 books and a novella. I only have the first 2. I don't have the novella. I've read The Name of the Wind, obviously. I loved it. I have the fancy 10th anniversary edition as well, but I don't want to keep going because I don't wanna just be, like, bereft at the end because I have no closure.
Yeah. I've been asking myself, do I wanna even start The Name of the Wind? Like, am I gonna be disappointed if I read books 1 and 2? Is it gonna let me down with some huge cliffhanger where I'm like, "I need to know what happens next." You know what I'm saying? I don't wanna be disappointed in having the thirst for that final book.
I think the thing with The Name of the Wind is you either are absolutely compelled by this story and you wanna know more because it reads like a minstrel song almost,
Mhm.
but otherwise, it is going to be the longest, most boring book of your life. Like,
Oh,
there
well, that's
really
nice.
isn't, like, a middle ground. So, I would in my humble opinion, I would maybe I know you're not going to your library as much this year, but I would maybe, like, get it from the library if you don't have it, flick through a few pages, read a couple chapters, see if you even care about it, and then make your decision.
Interesting.
Because if you dislike it, then there's no point in worrying about the fact that Patty's never gonna give me a final book.
Well, I bought the 10th anniversary edition, book, like, I don't know, whenever it came out. It's
Mhm.
beautiful, so I
It
always
is
have that
beautiful.
to look at. I couldn't help it. I was like, "This is a very interesting cover. I must have it, and
It
maybe
is
one day
beautiful.
I'll read the book." That's the first and only time I've ever done that, and I don't regret it. I do
Well,
not regret it.
I really I did that with Leviathan Wakes and that special edition with the hot
Oh,
pink edges,
yeah, I
and
had
I
that on
did not.
pre-order.
I was glad that I don't regret doing that because the book's fantastic, but
Yes, it is.
anyway,
Yeah.
I am currently reading, and this is for my little Patreon. I realize I feel like I do this a lot. I talk about the Patreon pick on these lives, but and it's The New Life by Tom Crew.
Mhm.
And really, I wanted to talk about it because one, I'm almost done with it. Two, it's fantastic. And three, I just need you to read it because
I
I
knew it
feel
would
like
be.
you'd really like it. I think I just like the way they're talking about this. I don't know, there's something that feels sort of like now about some things, and the struggles about different like like gay rights, trans rights, just all the conversation we have now, and also how not new any of this is. It's just this
Right.
is the new iteration of this fight. And so you have our two main characters are one is a married man who uh has kids and prominence, and he decides that he's going to stop stifling his nature and his desires, and he takes
Mhm.
up with the gentleman, and he's in conversation with this other gentleman who's married, and I think he might be asexual. His sexuality is a little bit more complicated and not as overt, I guess, on the page as our other character. And he's married, but he's married to a woman who is very open with him about the fact that she's a lesbian. She has relationships with other women, and it's like a nice kind of marriage for her and him because they can kind of have some sort of protection together. Like he gets
Yeah.
sort of like the little of having a wife, which always makes men look better, and then she has sort of the protection of having a husband, so any of her other activities in Victorian England are not as looked upon. And she's also kind of a feminist, so she's kind of a great character. And you just watch as these two men embark on writing this book about sexuality and like specifically men's sexuality. And it's kind of feels like when they did the Kinsey report
Mhm.
and how shocking all of that stuff was, especially the Kinsey report for on female sexuality and, like, learning that, like, "Oh my god, women have sexual fantasies."
Right.
So, it's kinda like that, but throwing it into a very specific queer lens. And I really like it. I like what they're talking about. I like this. Our one character is just absolute drive to get acceptance for who he is, because he knows there's nothing wrong with being queer, and there isn't. So it's a great story. I have a feeling there's gonna be a sad ending. Oscar Wilde makes an appearance.
Oh,
It
wow.
is very I'm enjoying this ride. Obviously, I haven't finished yet. The Pour Over podcast did do an interview. There was an interview
I
between
know.
him and Toybin. So I want to
I already listened to it. It was good.
listen to that when I'm done. But I'm talking about this to make you read it. Like, I need you.
It was already on my list. The moment Errol Carl Anderson had hauled this book at the end of last year, and I was like, I need to read that book. But also, I was trying not to pre-order any more books, and I'm still trying not to buy any books, but it's in my basket. It's been in my basket.
Thank you to Scribd for sending that my way. I do appreciate it. I probably would have been very upset if I hadn't requested it and then found
Yeah,
out just how good it was. So I'm
for
glad
sure.
that I did that.
For
'Cause
sure.
the blurb is good, but I don't know if the blurb is as good as it actually is
Yeah,
in reality. So
yeah,
anyway,
I
that's what I'm
agree.
reading. Among
That's
other things,
awesome.
that's what I'm reading.
I know there's just so many books in rotation right now.
I know it's bad. I gotta wrap some things up.
I'm trying to. Like, I had a good system going, and then, like, of course, this happens all the time. You know, I've got like, okay, these are the arcs I'm focusing on because they're coming out in a couple of weeks, and then one of my April arcs, the pub date changed to like March 2nd and March 1st. Actually, I was like, oh, well, I got to move that one up. So
Yeah, I don't do that.
you don't.
I don't know why people send me books.
Because you do read them and talk about them eventually.
Yeah, I know. But
Eventually.
I'm really bad at reading my arcs.
I
And I don't even try to hide it. I'm like, no,
I
I
mean,
will
you're being
most
very
likely
honest.
not read this prior to pub day. But I really do appreciate you sending me it, because I
Yeah.
will read it. Just
I
not
mean,
before pub day.
listen, the cycle of recommending books goes from before pub day, on pub day, and after pub day,
I'm an after pub day girl.
you know? So, but I'm trying. I've been trying since, I would say, early middle of last year. I really tried to get a handle on reading them before pub day. And
Mhm.
again, I'm still sticking with, like, I'm not requesting everything,
Yeah.
and that's
Well,
helping.
Well, I'm definitely requesting less, but then sometimes people just send me things. I'm like, what? What is this?
Yeah, that happens
But
too.
my problem
But
is
those
that
I
I
don't
get
rush to read.
too excited with Libby, and then all my Libby holds come in.
I know, but at least you can, like, say deliver later like 1,000 times. You know, so
Mhm.
at least you have
I
that
do.
option. Yeah,
I do.
yeah. You know, when I get unsolicited arcs, I don't prioritize those. I only prioritize the
Good. I
ones
wouldn't.
that I've
I
requested.
don't.
If they just sent me a random one, yeah, if they just sent me a random one, I'll read it whenever I get to it. It's not the priority because I didn't request it. So anyway,
I
oh, I'm
can't tell if
excited.
your audio is bad because of you or because of me. What is going on with your?
What do you
Is
hear?
your
What's going
Wi-Fi
on?
okay, Amy?
Yep, full
I
strength.
don't
What's
know. You sound
happening?
like. Oh, I don't know. You sound shitty to me.
I sound crappy. I sound choppy.
I don't know. You
Do I
sounded
sound
like you
different
went
now?
robot for a second. Yeah,
Oh,
for now.
okay. Do I sound
We'll
normal
see.
now?
Yeah.
Okay, you sound good. I sound okay.
It's
Just checking.
probably me. It's snowing outside. I have shitty internet. It's great that I make content on the internet and have terrible internet.
Yeah. Luana says hello.
Anyway.
Hello, Luana. Is that how
Yes,
you
I
say your
pulled her up.
name, or is that like an initial and then your first or middle name? Well, hello to you too.
Yes. Do you want to get into this? Do you want to get into this tiny yet wonderful book
Yes,
that is
Boulder.
Boulder? I have a new favorite
Boulder.
author, just so you know.
So this is Boulder by Eva Baltasar, translated from the Catalan or Catalan
Catalan.
Catalan,
Catalan.
translated by Julia Sanchez. And this is the short little book here, a little novella, but I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I didn't really want it to end. Um, but of course it had to. So that was disappointing. But have you read Permafrost? Because I haven't read Permafrost
No, that,
yet.
but I'm reading it. I'm gonna have to get it. I'm just gonna have to. I
You we
just I must.
we almost said Leona's right. Leo I don't I give up, didn't we?
Luana?
There we go. You said it right. My tongue doesn't work. It gets tripped up. Anyway, so you're dancing your book. Do you want to give a little summary and we'll just get into why this book's amazing?
Yeah,
And then
so
I was charged by some people to come up with something. So I will talk about that at the end. But anyway, so
yeah. So I'm just going to read the first piece on the back. A cook on a merchant ship comes to know and love Samsa, a woman who gives her the nickname Boulder. When Samsa gets a job in Reykjavik and the couple decides to move in together, Samsa declares that she wants to have a child now that they are settled. She is already 40 and can't bear to let the opportunity pass her by. Boulder is less enthused but doesn't know how to say no, and so finds herself dragged along a journey that feels as thankless to her as it is alien. Let's let's get into it. I love conversations about motherhood,
so
especially when they're not all like pretty and cutesy and like ooh babies. I like when there's some doubt and you know extreme uncomfortability and all that good stuff along with motherhood. I love it when there's tension.
I think that that's not even the point that I really focused on. I kind of liked the obsessive nature of Boulder's love. And
With
how
Samsa.
consuming that becomes, and then
Mm-hmm.
how fleeting that kind of becomes on top of it, like that, like what lasts longer, love or lust, and like did she love her? Did she lust for her?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's that, and yeah, the motherhood stuff was fine too, but like that was the part that really hit home with me. I loved all of like in the very beginning, she's talking and she has these wonderful phrase, like she has all this wonderful writing about like what is love and all this stuff and
Mm-hmm.
answering that. And the writing is so sparse and like just on like I just loved it. I like short, pithy, like to the
Yeah.
point language, and this book is written like it's for me. Um, every word is perfectly placed and there's no fluff.
Yep.
And I like that. That is some of my favorite stuff in a book. And this just didn't disappoint in that department. Um, but the motherhood stuff was good too. But
All of it's good. I mean, all of it's good. I mean, I knew I was in for something when that line she said, I look at her and she feels every corner of me.
Mhm.
I knew we were in trouble right then. I just knew it. So, um, all of it is good. All of it is very interesting. All of it to me is very intense. All of it is also, even I was feeling very overwhelmed with her love and desire for Samsa. It felt too much for me. It felt too much to contend with. And I was wondering to myself, does Samsa feel that? Does she feel this? Is overbearing the right word? Maybe. But does Samsa feel that? Does she feel the weight of all of that extreme love and desire that is coming from her partner? Or does
I
she
don't
enjoy it? Is this something that she's been looking for?
I felt like, and maybe it's because this is all from like Boulder's perspective and you don't get any real other POVs in this. And it's very like internal thoughts. I felt like this was all sort of in her. And I almost don't know if Samsa even realized how obsessive Boulder was over her.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if she was even like I always got I kind of got the feeling that like she didn't quite understand just how fully Boulder felt for her. Like she says
Yeah.
She says, "I don't fuck her. I wet myself on her. I drink her like I'd been raised wandering in the desert." Like, that is
Yeah,
obsession. That is like, "You are my soul. You are the blood that pumps through my body." Like,
right.
just incredibly melodramatic, like, obsession. And I don't know if does Samsa fully understand that? Samsa felt very much more, like, practical and,
Very
like,
much so.
grounded,
Mhm.
and, like, Boulder needs to be free to be Boulder. Like, Boulder shouldn't be a mom as much as, like, even when she becomes a mom excuse me, even when she becomes a mom, she does seem to love her child, but maybe not necessarily as, like, a mom in some sort of traditional sense.
She loves her like an aunt.
Yes, that's a good one.
She loves her like an aunt. She doesn't want the responsibility of her.
Mhm.
She doesn't drink her in the way Samsa does. She doesn't
I mean, Samson does
feel
some weird stuff with that baby, but anyway.
she doesn't feel all the things on the inside that you feel when you have a child. She's very disconnected in a way. She's very much in the place of an aunt. She wants to see her. She wants to spend time with her. She wants to get to know her. But that's really as far as it goes, and that's enough for her.
I mean, it feels like the way Boulder loves Samsa in the beginning of this is
Mhm.
the way that Samsa loves motherhood. And
Absolutely.
and you can't have those 2 things happening at once because that does not make a relationship. Um, because then there is no relationship. It'd be after once they embark on this whole thing, but their whole relationship erodes. But the reason I feel like Samsa doesn't truly understand everything Boulder feels is that I don't think Boulder expresses it because Boulder didn't want, as the reader, all of her actual feelings inside. She
Yeah.
doesn't really want to do any of these things, but doesn't it's not clear to me in the text that she ever actually articulates most of this to Sam. So the only thing I'm clear that she articulated is that she didn't want to live in a house.
Oh, she was very clear about that.
And that's about the only thing that I'm 100% certain that she was clear
Right.
on.
That's
Um,
too landlocked for her.
yeah, but like motherhood, she seemed like she had to almost give into that to keep Samsa. And like
Absolutely.
that was a deal that she struck and it was to her own to the detriment of the relationship.
Absolutely. And I think that Samsa can't really see what's going on with Boulder because we know from Boulder that she's very career obsessed, which is nothing
Mhm.
wrong with that, but she's very much a focused person. She's very driven. She's very much into her profession. She's climbing that ladder really quickly. And so she's so zeroed in on her work. I don't really think she even sees all of what's going on with Boulder. And maybe some things are obvious if she were paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I feel like I don't think that it's really cared about Boulder anywhere near as much as Boulder cared about Samsa. I just don't think that even from the beginning they were ever on like equal footing in the relationship.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so it's sort of doomed from the beginning. I mean, once Samsa gets Boulder on land,
Mhm.
Boulder's sort of stuck. And that thing that spark, that thing that caused the obsession, that back and forth, I see you when I'm in port kind of
Mhm.
relationship, that doesn't exist anymore. And it all sort of tumbles into why everything falls apart, right? Like there's
Yeah.
a lot of like, it's like that's some of the reason why people cheat, right? Like if there's that added just exhilarating part of this being fleeting, like I could get caught, like I shouldn't be doing this, or like this is something that's only happening for this really short period of time, so it's precious, it's different. It's why
Right.
you go on vacation sometimes in a couple and you're different than you are when you are at home because all the things that are normal life things are not there, right? So you become a different sort of version of yourself. So I feel like they were different people. And then she anchors Boulder and you can't anchor Boulder.
Yeah, Samsa is traditional.
Yeah.
Boulder is not. She really enjoys being on these freights or these boats or these ships or whatever,
Mhm.
definitely not being landlocked, porting every now and then, get in a room for a couple of nights, hanging out at the bar, meeting people sometimes, but being on that ship,
Mhm.
having the whole world around her and ahead of her. That's what she enjoys. Samsa is very traditional. I've got
Yeah.
a career. I'm moving forward. I want to get a home. I want to have a child.
Yeah.
Traditional.
Yeah.
So.
And that's not Boulder.
Exactly. And I started to see, and it felt like to me, Boulder, is as much as she desired and loved her, I think she was starting to hate her a little bit.
I think she did, but I think it's the kind of resentment you have for somebody when you have internalized a lot of your own feelings and
Mm-hmm.
now it's too late for you to say them. Like things have spiraled out of control, and if you say exactly what you want now, it's going to mean the end of something that you did at least at some point really want
Yeah.
and love. So it's like a scary kind of place to be. It's an uncomfortable place to be where like now you kind of feel trapped. And I feel like she felt very trapped for a long time. And I think that leads to, all the drinking and like the going out at night
Yep.
and the seeking, I don't affection maybe.
And avoiding home.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, you see that in like a lot of relationships
Oh
in general.
yes,
Like
all
when
the time.
relationships start crumbling, like when you don't want to when you don't wanna come home,
Yeah, exactly.
it's usually, like, not a great time.
Exactly. Warning, something is
Something
going
needs to
very,
be
very wrong.
addressed.
Yes, absolutely.
And not like, "I wanna be left alone today," like, no, like, I don't want to be in my own home because
Exactly.
it feels like there's an intruder in here, or, like, I can't be comfortable in my space or in the life that I've created. Those are all bad signs, and you're just in Boulder's head while she's trying to
Mm-hmm.
process this because you could feel her just trying to hold on to things. Like the last vestige, I guess, was the sex. Like she really
Yeah.
loved having sex with Samsa
Mm-hmm.
until she didn't love having sex with Samsa.
Right, right. This is a very like intimate book. It's very
Mhm.
sexual and sensual.
I mean,
And that was a huge thing. You're right. I mean, she just wants every part of Samsa any and every time she can get it. So
mhm,
that is a huge part of their relationship. And yes, often when women have children, that part goes away for a while.
yeah. I mean, but it makes sense. It makes sense, both things. It makes sense to be the partner that feels neglected and left out. It also makes sense to focus solely on your child and have that child become the center of your existence because the child needs you to survive.
Mm-hmm.
I did feel like the scenes where the lactating mothers club would come over and like they'd all just like sit around talking about breastfeeding. Like clearly I'm a childless woman, you're not. You can tell me if I'm crazy, but it just sounded terrible. Like it sounded awful. Like it's the least like I would sitting around with a bunch of women talking about my nipples is just like not
Oh man,
something I want to do.
it's so comforting because you have it's just the nipple thing with breastfeeding. It could go okay or it could go terribly wrong. And sometimes you need support, man. And breastfeeding isn't easy for everyone, you
And
know?
I definitely think that, like, having people to turn to for motherhood is good. I'm not saying, like, don't do that. I'm just saying, like, this instead of having a book club, you have, like, a lactation club. That
Yes.
is weird to me. The way that it happens in this book and then other things that happen in this book with
Yeah.
breastfeeding are just what? Like, I I don't know. The idea of suckling a babe just terrible. And this is why I firmly believe that we were supposed to be having children when we were too dumb to know that there was anything going on. I know that it's better not to. I'm not telling people to go out there and have children when you're young, but have kids if you want to. But it's just like knowing all of these things is terrifying. The more things you know makes it more terrifying,
Yeah, yeah.
doesn't it? So,
It's
like,
it's a lot. It's a lot. I like
it's
when
a lot.
Boulder says, Samson's motherhood is exclusive. It has no bearing on me. I've been sent into
Mhm.
exile. A lot. I've known a lot of husbands to feel that way when they've had like their
Yeah.
first child. It's like, I don't even exist in this thing that you've got going on with this baby. And that's when you see sometimes when the man becomes jealous of the baby, because it's like, you've taken my wife. You've
Mhm.
taken, and that's what's going on there. This Boulder is like, this baby has taken my lover.
Yeah.
You have become the everyday cock blocker.
But there's no cock.
You know,
Dildo blocker.
you've taken up all of her space to give me any real affection or attention
Mhm.
or anything. You're just sucking all of the air and all of the energy and all of the everything out of the room all day, every day.
But what I think is really interesting is I think that often as women, I mean, we have this argument right now. Let's look at our little like Fox News pundits who are just absolutely seething over Chelsea Handler and her
It's
day
so
in the life.
funny.
It is really funny. But there's this idea that like women have to be maternal. Like
Yeah.
once you have the baby, you're going to like flip a switch. And I know a lot of women who didn't really want children but then had them. They didn't have like hard firm like I don't want them,
Mm-hmm.
no, but like they're ambivalent. And then of course you love your own children for the most part, minus issues with like postpartum, etc. Like you, you know but like we're not all just going to flip a switch and become mothers. Like, and Boulder doesn't just become a mother. She's
Right.
not a mother. She doesn't want to be one, and she never vocalizes that
Mm-hmm.
before getting to this point where she is a mother.
Exactly. Exactly. I wished that Boulder would have been
Boulder.
Boulder. But up bump.
There's my pun for the day.
Because you just cannot go through life not expressing how you feel. It's just always going to turn out badly for you. There is no point in hiding what you truly feel for the
As so-
sake of someone else or out of fear of losing someone. That right there should tell you there's a problem. Like,
as somebody who does have a tendency to do this, I can tell you it is very difficult to train yourself not to. Um, because I mean, I'm much better at it now, but
yeah.
every like young Alyssa, married Alyssa was really bad at like 100% expressing how I felt, and when I
Hmm.
would, it never came out at the time it probably should have. It usually came out at a different time when it's not the time to talk about it, like when it's like now you're gonna have like other issues. And yeah, those are all signs of stuff. But I think that there are a lot of people that it's sometimes really hard. Like maybe you were just never listened to, like, or maybe just nobody cared what you had to say. So
Mm-hmm.
you really kind of always were just you. Or maybe you're just fiercely independent and now suddenly you're not fiercely independent, but you love the person and you're trying to not be a dick. So you're like, okay, I'll do this thing, but do I want to do this thing?
I guess I feel like whenever you're expressing how you really feel, you can never be a dick.
I mean,
These
that's
are
what my
your
therapist says.
these are your feelings. These are, you know what I mean? Like, these are your feelings. You can't be a dick about something that you feel.
Yes.
The other person may want you to feel like you're being a dick because you're saying something that they don't like.
Yeah.
But these are your feelings. So I wish Boulder would have, because you waste so much time and then you
Hmm.
cause so much heartache and pain. And it just makes things uncomfortable in the end.
Yeah. But sometimes it is hard to express how you
Yeah.
feel. It's
And she
definitely
didn't
like,
do
and
it
I
at
think
all.
some people are better
So
at it than others. Like I have a girlfriend who like I am envious of her ability to just so clearly state literally every demand she has in her life. Like she
yeah.
wants something, this is what she wants. If she doesn't want it, she says she doesn't want it. And then she like eradicates it from her life. Like, I don't want to do this. I'm not doing this. I don't want this kind of vibe in my life. It's
Right.
gone. I want this in my life. It comes in. Like she is so good at that. And I'm like, how how do you not just people please all day?
Oh, because it's exhausting. I don't want to do that ever. I don't ever want to do that. I'm very much no. No. I
I feel
absolutely
like I
not.
waffle.
What? We're getting ready to have a therapy session, huh? Okay,
Okay.
let me reel it in. I'm like, I was
All
ready
right,
to go to
let's come
like,
back. We're gonna come back to
why do you
Boulder.
waffle? All right, back to Boulder.
Naomi and I can have a conversation about therapy things later.
But she, like, so Boulder says, is this what mothers do? String up invisible nets, preside over their child's safety.
Mhm.
She's so over it. She's like, why does this child need so much? It was kind of funny, but I felt a little sad and bad for her, but the whole time I was like, just tell her. And she does at some point tell her, but not exactly what I thought she was going to tell her. She ended up telling Samsa, basically, you're hogging this child. Okay. I also want time with her. I also would like to get to know her. And Samsa gives in and they begin to spend time together. So it's like she doesn't want to be a mother. And we said this at the top of the show, right? She doesn't want to be a mother, but she does want to spend time with this child. She does want to build some kind of a bond with her. She just doesn't want all the other trappings of motherhood. So I think that's a happy medium for them.
I have the shitty internet.
Oh, you look frozen on my end, but I didn't want to say anything.
Well, I are you there? Because my internet, I think, is going.
Yep. I'm still here.
Okay, sorry. Good. But no, I do think she wants to be with the child. But I think that there's this one quote that, just to go circle back to the people pleasing for a second. She says, "Loving Samsa has made me cautious. I need an inlet. I need time." And I think that summarizes everything about tying her down to Samsa. It's that
Yep.
she's a person that goes sort of from passion to passion, and not
Yeah.
somebody who creates a life on like some sort of strong foundation. She's not that kind of person, and you can't
Right.
make her that. You can't fit that square into that round hole. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, because she starts her little, her food truck business. And I very much think she is a person that probably has, multiple interests that she wants to, create things around those interests whenever she feels like she wants to, whenever she has the desire to do so. She doesn't want to be landlocked. She doesn't want to be locked into anything. She doesn't want to be locked into motherhood. She doesn't want to be locked into one particular career. She doesn't want to be locked into one particular place. She is like a free bird. She's like a gypsy a little bit.
Like, I feel like, yeah, 100%. I feel like she was okay being tied down by Samsa because of that obsession with Samsa, but everything on top of that, the house, the baby, all those other things, all those other weights, it's too much. It's too much for her. I mean, she even says, "I want a baby," Samsa says, "our baby, your baby." She says this, and I feel nothing, like I've drunk arsenic. Like, that is,
Yep.
you are repulsed by the idea of having a child. You cannot fathom having any more things burdening you down into this like specific life. Not like life in general, but like this specific life that she has.
Yeah. And it's so severe. She says, sleeping this close to two people who love each other is worse than sleeping alone.
I mean, she also says having a kid is the same as enrolling in a lifetime plan of suffering.
Well, she's not wrong. She's not wrong.
Just so you know, there's that. Chelsea Handler would approve.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many good lines on here. She says, "I need to swim with the tide, use up my maternity leave, go back to work, wait for Samsa to get her act together, to realize there are parts of herself that she misses, then win them back and make them fit the woman she's become, who doesn't live for herself anymore, but who lives through the person trapped in the body of a baby girl who smiles and wants her and has her wrapped around her little finger with a force that can't be matched because it belongs to the stars and the earth. In other words, to no one."
Yeah.
So good.
It's so good. I feel like she does really ultimately care for like the baby as an entity.
Yeah.
Because the baby is, I kind of like the baby as a character, because the baby is kind of like this little creature in the corner that's like, well, I'm not that bad.
Right. Right.
I have my things. Like,
I'm probably pretty cute.
You might want to like hang out with me for a bit.
Yeah.
But she also feels a little bereft when like Samsa takes the baby away. When she does have the baby, she's like, oh, well, I guess I don't matter, right? Like she like swoops in, takes the baby, goes feeds her, whatever. And
Yeah.
it's like, all right, I know my place. It's not here. Like,
Yeah. It's a weird thing too, right? Because she didn't really want to say yes to the whole let's have a baby thing, but she committed to it, right? And so she makes a statement about, look, I've committed to this thing. So since I've done that, I do expect you to like let me in this thing.
yeah.
Include me in this thing that I have committed to, even though I didn't really want to. But I'm here and I did it. So include me.
But I feel like even if it was this perfect inclusion and all that, it still kind of wouldn't have worked because it's not what Boulder wanted. I mean, she says
Exactly.
motherhood is the tattoo that defines you, brands your life on your arm, and the mark that impedes freedom. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, she is so viscerally against this whole
Yeah.
thing. I mean, she thought she didn't want to live in a house. Well, the baby is just like, whew.
Exactly. Exactly. You know,
Talking about the lactation things, now I get why Samson never misses a single one of these get-togethers. They're orgies.
she's like, enough of this nonsense. Enough of it.
I'm not cut out to be a mother, much less a lapdog, the obedient company she wants from me. I mean, this is it's like you just watch her. This
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed watching. This is gonna sound kind of like mean, but I enjoyed watching this relationship crumble
Yeah.
and how it crumbled
Mm-hmm.
and doing it through Boulder's eyes. I enjoyed it. There's some fantastic like one-liners. I have a lot of highlighting
I have a lot
in
of
this.
things in here. Yeah.
Mhm.
Underlined and circled. And yeah, it's wonderful.
It's a good book.
It is a really good book, and I enjoyed the writing. It really did flow. And I mean, man, she just hits you with stuff that just makes you say, huh, yeah, I
You're
get
right.
it. You're absolutely right.
Motherhood
And
is
I love
punishment.
that feeling. I love that feeling.
I did find that, like, the structure of the story, it was kind of predictable, like, you kinda knew where you were gonna end up, and I kinda knew, like, what was gonna be the death knell of
Mm-hmm.
this relationship,
Yeah.
but I did not expect the way that death knell was gonna come across.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That we're not gonna ruin that for people who haven't maybe read the book because you just need to experience that moment. Because I was like, "Are you serious?
Right. Right.
People do this? Do people do this, Naomi?"
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So I really I really want to read more. I don't know how many things she's written and how much of what she's written has already been translated, but I do know about
I think
permafrost. I do
there's
want to read that.
3. One's coming out this year, maybe?
I don't know.
So
Is there
she has
something called
permafrost, she
Mamet?
has this, and I think there's one coming out this year.
I'm excited. There's something called Mamet, but I don't know if that's translated or not.
That could be what's coming out this year.
Mamut. We'll
Don't
have
know.
to see. But I really enjoyed this. This was a strong little novella for me.
Yeah, this was good. This was a good pick because I had not heard of it, and you were like, "This is my pick," and I'm very grateful. I really like this. I do need to get permafrost.
Yes,
It's
for
so good.
sure. For
And I
sure.
really like it took me a long time to read this for no reason other than the fact that like I just didn't want to stop reading it. So I would read like a little bit and then put it down. And then I read a little bit and I put it down.
Mm-hmm.
So it was phenomenal.
It really was. It really was. So yeah, she may be a new favorite author for sure.
Hmm. Oh, she's 100%
Um,
a new favorite
I
author for me.
definitely I want to read Permafrost really soon, so I guess I'm gonna put in an order. I'm
I've
sure.
heard permafrost is even better.
I heard that too, which is really exciting.
So
Really exciting.
I guess we'll find out.
So if you all haven't read Boulder, read it. It is worth it.
Yes. And then this coming month in March, we will be reading. What are we reading?
That pen, my wing is a pen of a bird. Is that what it's called?
My pen is the wing of a bird, which is a collection of
Mm-hmm.
short stories from Afghan women,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a truly unique perspective on that we don't get a lot here in the West. So I'm really excited for that one. And
Yeah.
then I hope that you read this book
Thanks,
because I
Luana.
think you will enjoy it. She gave us a
Oh,
pronunciation. Ioana? Ioana. Ioana?
Anna.
Oh
Anna?
God, we're not good at pronouncing things.
We're terrible. I don't want to butcher your name.
So, but yes, please read this. I think that you would enjoy it. It was so good.
It really was.
So
It really was.
anyway, so do you want to tell people what they can read next? What are your book
I'll tell you. I'll
recommendations?
tell you, people. I will tell you what you can read. First of all, I just read Decent People by Deshaun Charles Winslow. And
Oh,
if you
she
know
loved this
me,
book.
if you know me, you know that I loved his book in West Mills. Okay. All right. Read that. So with Decent People, we are back in West Mills. All right. And we've got a murder mystery going on here. Okay. We've got an actual murder mystery. All right. I did not realize how much I missed being in West Mills until I was put back in West Mills, because we've got some returning characters. And my favorite character in this book, whose name is Not, Knot, Not, she was just a phenomenal character. I get a handful of run-ins with Not in this book, which I was not expecting. Oh my goodness, it was so wonderful. So, West Mills is a segregated town in North Carolina, and this is like 1976. And we've got Miriam Marvin and Lazarus Harmon. They are siblings of a very wealthy man, and they were brutally murdered. And so this lady, what is her name? Anne? No, that's not her name. I can't remember her name. His name is Lymph. He's their stepbrother, or not a stepbrother. He's something else. I don't know. Maybe someone had an affair, but he's their other, like their half sibling. And so he's not really close with them. Actually, he doesn't really like them all that much, but he's been, told by the father to always make sure that you protect them or look after them, look out for them, make sure they're safe. And so when they're murdered, he's crushed. And not only that, he's been blamed for the murder. It is very known around town that he does not really, like his siblings. They've had some, things happen in the past. And so the finger's been pointed at him. And so his girlfriend, I think her name is Jo, his fiance rather, she goes on to try to find clues and, talk to people to see what happened. Like, she's just working this case on her own because she doesn't feel like the police are doing a good job. And so it was just a really fun, really fantastic little mystery. We get a good number of people that were in the first book in West Mills who've returned. Now they're older, they're grown up, they have their own family. So we really get to see how they've, matured. And it was just so wonderful being back with these people. It felt like going home. I shed a tear at the end.
That's big, folks.
It is, because I was so happy to have gone back into this town with these people. It just felt so good, and I enjoyed it. This was a really fun read. Well done, Deshaun Charles Winslow. Well done. You have knocked it out of the park again. So if you have not read West Mills, read it, and then read Decent People. And I'm saying that because that way, when you read this, the people will be familiar to you because they were in West Mills.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, that is. I've already heard all about how much she loved that book. So it's a real recommendation.
Yep.
I forgot that I was supposed to explain perhaps why Boulder is punk rock, because I guess our friend Books and Bow is putting out a video, or just put out a video about how punk Boulder and another book is. And I have spent the last 24 hours trying to figure out how it is punk. And I cannot for the life of me come up with anything. I've gone on the Google, and I am like, Google seems to, most of the blog entries that I found that talk about like punk lit, it's usually around sci-fi and things like that, like sci-fi dystopian, like anti government, like not anti, but like backlash of technology, backlash of like environmental destruction, stuff like that. There she is. See, this one wants me to come up with why it's punk rock. I cannot think of a way. Everything that I see is like a sci-fi thing. And so for me, it just feels really weird to make lit fic punk. But
I
if you have a reason or a theory on why
I
this could
think
be punk.
I think it may be punk because Boulder rejects tradition, and she rejects all the things that women are supposed to be and fit into. She rejects it wholeheartedly.
But I always think about punk as like an establishment thing. And
I don't think that's all punk is. I feel like punk is also like an attitude of like rejecting the way you think I'm supposed to be based on these whatever norms. I feel like Boulder rejects those things. So I feel like Boulder may be a little bit punk in her attitude and her disdainment of the things that we're supposed to love and enjoy, like motherhood, like owning a home. She rejects those things.
all right, then Chelsea Handler's punk rock, man. Cause like
You know?
I don't know. It's just like it is one of those descriptors about books that I don't understand. And it's probably because it's such a I don't know, it's like a weird term for me to put on books. It's like our dark academia discussion when we're
Oh,
like,
Jesus.
why
Yeah.
in the God's name is Anna Karenina dark academia? But someone did comment on that video recently and said that dark Anna Karenina and some of those other books that we were like, why this is not dark academia, may be on that list. And I think it's a valid theory because they are books that like a dark academia aesthetic or a person in a dark academia book
Right.
would read so that it's like the next iteration of layer or whatever of dark academia. But I feel like I I can sort of start wrapping my head around all of those things, but I can't wrap my head around like punk books. Especially because it seems like the definition, or at least the original, like, canonical definition of, like, punk lit is in sci-fi. So when we start crossing it over into literature, I'm very confused. So Carrie can see it. I can't.
Yeah.
But then that means that, like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't know. I just don't think that I know people that don't want children and other things like that, and I just don't see them as identifying as being like, "I'm punk."
I don't think all women that don't want children are punk.
See, I'm broken. Anyway, so this could be a discussion for the future for other books that get labeled as punk if we can get Alyssa to figure out why they're punk. Because I don't know. Maybe
Right.
I just don't get it, and that's cool. Like, I don't need to get everything. But anyway, I have a book recommendation. And I was gonna film a review for my channel yesterday, but that's been delayed. But anyway, so there will be a full review for this, and that's Bad Cree by Jessica Johns, which is an arc. So thank you, Knopf. This came out in January, and I really enjoyed this. So
I heard it was
this
good.
is I'm not even sure where to classify this because I think technically it's supposed to be like a literary horror, but I feel like horror readers, like really traditional horror readers, would not take this as horror. I've heard like magical realism thrown around. I've heard like all kinds of things, but it's generally like a literary horror with magical realism because it's horror. So you got to have some sort of magical element that exists to make things happen. But this was really, really good. You have our main character, Mackenzie, who after the death of her sister, like moves away from her family. She's processing grief and she kind of like can't take it being at home with everybody and she moves away, but then she starts having these dreams and the dreams start like crossing over into reality. She gets a text message from somebody claiming to be her sister and she ends up going back home basically to figure out what these dreams are, to reconnect with her community, with her family. There's a lot of really great female relationships in this. There's some good, like, kind of trippy dream work being done. And I feel like doing dreams in a book is sometimes hard. And I think that this was done very well. And I thoroughly enjoyed this. I think it's fantastic. There's a bit of a mystery trying to figure out, like what is actually going on, what happened with her sister's death, what are these dreams. There's discussion about things like colonization, the
Mm,
destruction of indigenous land, the reclaiming of your culture as a First Nations person. There's a lot like, kind of woven into this little horror-ish story, and I enjoyed it. I knew it, kind of knew I would. That's why I asked for the arc, but it was really good.
it's getting some great reviews. So
Yeah.
the publisher did send me an arc of that as an ebook, which is why I didn't read it.
Any publishers, don't send Naomi ebooks. Just don't. They're not going anywhere. She's not going to read them.
I'm never gonna read them. I'm
There's this
sorry.
chance I might, but she is never reading them ever.
Mm-mm.
Just don't send her anything or
Yeah,
send her a book.
just send me the physical one. Sometimes I'll circle back and I'll ask if they have any hard copies or whatever, but I've only done that like twice.
You're so much bolder than I am. I don't. This is going back to like our therapy session about me asking for my needs to be met. Um, but I'm so bad about asking specifically for things. That's why sometimes when I get my tour email, it's like really torturous because I have to go to each publicist. I like it when they're publicists I already know, but whenever
Oh
it's a new
yeah.
publicist, it really hurts. Like it's hard for me to ask, and then I don't feel like I deserve, and then it's this whole thing. Yeah,
I mean, you do know that we're helping them, right?
I know, but we already sort of dipped a toe into that heart of Alyssa, so
That's how I got 2 copies of A Spell of Good Things.
well, I keep learning that apparently Tor is notoriously oh god, that's another, like, pun
Yeah,
adjacent
it
thing,
is, it is.
notoriously difficult to get physical copies from.
Tor and Orbit.
Orbit is like, I what? No. Orbit occasionally drops something in my lap, and I'm like, "Yes, thank you, Say." But I because we were there was a discussion in another group I had about, like, getting something from Riverhead because Riverhead just sent out their things, and we're all like, "No one." I've never once gotten a book from Riverhead. Like, Riverhead's like, "No, you don't exist, you peasant." And then somebody else is like, "And Tor." I'm like, "What are you talking?"
Tor is like here's okay, so on Tor,
But I've
there
been working with
are
them for 3 years, so that's probably why. So
but it's something else. There are hardcore fantasy booktubers, okay?
mhm.
This is what their whole channel's about. And oftentimes I watch the video and they're like, "Oh, I got denied for this arc with Tor, but I'm just going to pre-order it." Like enough times for me to like I don't understand their whole approval process, right? That's
Tor,
fine.
I don't know what I did to make you happy with me, but I really appreciate it and I love you. And please let me know if I ever need to do anything to mend any of my ways.
Exactly, exactly. And so now Riverhead is, I don't know, like I've gotten 3 or 4 books from them. I don't know. I don't know how they decide which ones they're gonna give me out of the ones I asked for, but
Girl, I can't even get an
whatever.
ebook from them.
And you put
They're
out their things when they put it in their stories. Yeah, I don't know. I don't
I'm
know
just
how they.
saying it's a mystery, which is why people should ask and email and do things because you're clearly never gonna get anything if you don't ask. But
Yeah.
you, I never get upset when I don't get something because it is really a privilege.
It really is, and I'm
And
and I'm never made more aware of it when I'm in an actual bookstore like a Barnes and Noble, and I see all the new releases, and then I count in my head how many have already been sent by the publisher. That's when it's like I'm extra, extra, extra grateful, especially when I
yeah.
turn the book over and I see the retail price.
I know. It's just funny when we are in bookstores, Jesus will often be like, "Oh, this sounds really good," and I'll be like, "Yeah, I have that. You want to go? Just go home, pull it off the shelf. There's an arc of that somewhere."
Right? Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, it is a blessing, and I do
It
appreciate
is.
everyone who does actually work with my tiny ass. And
Yeah, I'm grateful. I'm very grateful and appreciative because books are expensive when you buy them at full retail price.
but also like I probably would not have read Bad Cree
Hmm.
if I hadn't been sent the arc, or even before that, maybe I would have, but I just based on getting the email about it. But if I hadn't heard anything, I probably would have missed this.
Mhm.
And that's sad. That like the new life I probably would have eventually gotten to. So it's just nice to be sort of on top of things. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate that I have that ability. Because there's FOMO. Like I don't want to miss out.
Yeah. And also, too, not everything that we receive is gonna be, like, front and center in the major bookstores
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
So, sometimes we're getting things that some of the bookstores aren't even requesting
Oh yeah.
or have, like, very limited copies of.
Oh yeah. Because they're not like commercial or
Ex
whatever.
exactly.
Which is why I
Exactly.
don't ask. I always feel like I can't ask for like a TJ Klune because I'm not getting a TJ Klune. Because like you don't need me to get TJ Klune because you know everyone's
Yeah.
gonna buy the TJ Klune.
Yeah.
Uh, I know that that means that like I definitely won't get it, and I probably should stop being a weenie and do it.
Yes.
But there's other authors who like need micro influencers or whatever our stupid category is
Mhm.
to like to help grow a little fan base. And we get comments all the time. You probably get it on your own
Mhm.
stuff as well, where people are like, "Thank you for recommending that. I read
Yeah.
that thing, and it was
Absolutely.
really good." So we're doing the Lord's work.
We are. We're doing it. We're doing it.
Anyway,
Well,
we
this
gotta
was
wrap
fun.
this up
Yeah.
because Real Madrid is about to kick off. Is that what you do in soccer? And
Oh, don't even ask me. I have no idea.
and I have a Spaniard who needs to be able to go "Hostia" really loudly at some point during the game.
I feel like that's supposed to be a good thing. That's something happy.
Um, I don't know. I
It's
think it's
fine.
more of just like a general exclamation that they
Got
all
it.
kind of do all the time.
Got it. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Follow us everywhere on TV at TBR Lowdown. Go to our website, tbrlowdown.com. That's going to do it for us.
Yes.
We are out of here.
Bye.
Bye.